What's going on YouTube? It is T90 and welcome to a 1v1 Black Forest Vikings game. Fatslob returns. Now, you might be thinking, T90, you're crazy because all you've played, all you've done for 5, 6, 7 years now? I'm not sure, is play Age of Empires 2. Just one game. Granted, I like to watch your videos, T90, but I wouldn't want to play just one game only. Well, yeah, I am a little bit crazy, but you know what's crazier? Fatslob, who's been playing this game for 20 years, and he plays Age of Empires only. Well, I have no way of confirming that, of course, but let's just assume he does, and he only plays 1v1 Black Forest Vikings. The man knows what he likes, and he is in the blue, and he is known for running forward nice and early to wall up. He likes the late game. He doesn't like to be pressured early, and he's actually sent his 3 starting villagers forward, as he often does, and to find his opponent, Red, Dadaron, or Dad Iron, something like that, has already walled. So he's like, uh-oh, I'm not sure what to do here. And he's now going to get his own walls up, I guess, behind Red's walls. So he'll be a little bit disappointed about that. And then here he's going to wall as well. Now, a few things to get out of the way. This is going to be very different than Fatslob games you've seen before. So, if you watch every single Fatslob video, I do my research. I try and find games that are different, despite the settings being very much the same. Now, the speed also looks a little bit wonky right now. You're going to have to work with me, and we're going to zoom in and look at the classic pixels, because we have Villager and Scout Showdown. Oh yeah, look at those pixels. Oh, this is great. Who needs Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition when you have this? Boom, boom. Look at the muscles. Oh, look at the triceps, the biceps, the gallops. Fatslob's like, uh-oh. Well, I sent 2 villagers here. I got my walls up. And now Dad Iron is coming over here, and he must be lifting. He must be full of pumping iron. That doesn't make any sense. But anyways, Dad Iron is going to wall further forward on both sides. Now, in the past, I've watched enough Fatslob games to see that he might just bail on this game. That was the Fatslob of the past. Believe it or not, he has changed. He has encountered this so much, where players will rush him or go for something wacky, that he doesn't quit anymore. A couple years ago, sometimes he would just bail out and say, okay, you know what, I don't like this. You can't do this to me. But no, he's going to stick around. He's making some houses. He actually knows the whole tree hopping thing. And that is a straggler tree, so he's going to place a palisade over that just to make sure Red can never get through. The good thing for Fatslob as well is that Red sent 2 forward. Sometimes you won't see any villagers come forward at all from the enemy. And I guess that means that Fatslob's economy, while it is going to be kind of behind, it's not going to be as far behind as it would be if Red had more of an economy focus. Alright, so one thing I've noticed, I'm using Capture Age. Oh! And that recently I've heard that Capture Age, or it's been announced, I should say, that Capture Age is being worked on for Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. It's not here yet, but anyways, the speed might be a little bit off in this game. I really don't feel like re-recording this and trying to test around with things. I think you guys are okay with it. If it becomes an issue, I might need to load into the actual game. But we have all the resources and the population for the players in the bottom left. When I select things, you can see data here. Many viewers might be familiar with this. If not, there's some cool things like the amount of wood, food, gold, and stone on the map being listed here. And also my zoom level. So, gotta love Capture Age. It's been a hard 7 months without it on Age of Empires 2 DE, but things are slowly improving there. And Fatslob, oh boy. Alright, Fatslob is he's just gonna slaughter the sheep because he's not in a rush here. Who needs efficiency? He's gonna bring in his boar, and I guess that's happened to everyone who's watching, right? You kind of forget about your villagers, and the shepherds, they don't want to share. They just go after any old sheep. Okay. So it's 1v1 Black Forest, and Fatslob, he has his palisade walls up. He probably should delete these palisades, because then he'd get the wood back for it. I assume he'll figure that out later. But what Fatslob tends to do is he tends to get to feudal age, and then send a few villagers to stone and start stonewalling, alright? So, that is going to happen. Small spoiler. Spoiler that's not really a spoiler. So, what I normally do in my Fatslob games is I just chill out and talk to you guys about some other things, Age of Empires or channel related, while we wait. Red might be a guy who just goes fast castle. You can see that Red does have a slight eco lead. He actually has very similar economic setup to Fatslob right now. So, and the ratings, if you look at the top left, you can actually see some of their conversation from earlier. Red is actually lower rated than Fatslob too. I think in game they had a little bit of a discussion, and it's really rare to see Fatslob speak. Sometimes that can be the game room before the actual game launches. So I think maybe Red had picked another Civ, and Fatslob said Civ's Vikings. Speed and team, fixed speed. Maybe Fatslob had fast speed or something. I'm not really sure. But Fatslob speaks. Nice. So what I wanted to tell you guys is that Fatslob's been playing a ton. He actually had an 8-game winning streak this week. I always look at his profile. I made a joke, and it's not really a joke, sorry Lorena, that I look at Fatslob's profile more than I look at my girlfriend's text messages. I look at his profile more than I should. I just really want to know what's going on with the guy. And I don't know if you guys are the same. I know that my Fatslob videos get a ton of views. I feel like my life is just better, knowing that Fatslob is doing what he loves. I have no Twitch chat to interact with here. I can't get your thoughts right now, YouTube, but let me know in the comments. Like, does it make you happy to know that Fatslob's just continuing to do his thing? Many people change. Many people, you know, they grow out of certain things. But to me, it's so wholesome to see Fatslob is doing the same thing he's been doing for years. And also, he hasn't really changed how he does it either. There's some funny little quirks that Fatslob has with how he plays the game, and you'll see some of that here too. So, it just makes me happy to see Fatslob still playing his game. Much of the community has moved over to Age of Empires 2 DE. There are still people on Voobly, actually. There's more people on Voobly than I've ever seen, funny enough, and you would expect it to be the opposite because of DE. But no, I think there's more people playing Age of Empires 2 than there has been in 15, 20 years. Back when the game came out, it's just awesome all around. So, now I want to ask you guys if this would be something you're interested in again. In the past, I did classic games. So I would find recorded games from 2010, 2012, 2005. And normally I'd find recorded games that had interesting strategy, and then I would cast them. And I know that for many people who are used to DE, and this is myself included, this just doesn't look like what I'm used to. However, at the same time, with such an ancient game, I think it'd be really cool to maybe revisit classic strategies, maybe classic pros that don't play the game anymore, and things like that. So let me know as well in the comments. I always do read my Fatslob comments. I feel like there's always a lot of feedback because you guys have a lot of time to think about what you might want to say. But this is an amazing game. You guys will probably want to give feedback on that as well. Fatslob's going to feudal. Now, he could just go for a fast castle build. He could do it like Red. He could start farming a bit. Actually, what the... Why are there no farmers on these farms? Did he just... I think he just pulled them over to gold. Well, that's a little bit peculiar. But anyways, you know, he could stay in Dark Age a bit longer. He could create more villas. He could get more long-term food income. And then when he arrives in Feudal Age, he will be able to have the resources to go to the Castle Age. But he doesn't really go for a fast castle build. He just likes to get the walls up so he's nice and secure. It's normally 3 on stone. And then the villagers come forward, and then he goes for heavy stone walls. Now, what's awkward for him is he wanted to get this wall up. If he got that wall up, he could build 6 layers of stone walls without building into his base. What's going to suck for Fatslob is that if he's going to build more walls, he's going to have to build back into his base. So he's going to lose out on a lot of precious space. And that's on this side as well, too. Now, Red. Yeah, I think this is probably the smarter approach. He's just going to go for a second layer of palisade walls. Now, many people might not know this because there's so many different versions of the game. But this is Age of Conquerors, right? So there's Conquerors, then there were some expansions that were still played on Voobly, and in those expansions on Voobly and now in DE2, palisade walls were actually cheaper, and they built like twice as fast. So how quickly these palisade walls come up is pretty fast. Like, it's fast enough to the point where you really don't need to commit to the stone walls as early and as heavily as Fatslob does, but it wouldn't be Fatslob if you didn't, right? Now, Fatslob always sends 2 vills, too. It's like there's a huge rush, even though he has palisade walls. it's another one of those small things that Fatslob does, and it's not really necessary, you know? Alright, did he get his eco upgrades? Well, he gets wheelbarrow for free, so that's nice. Not bad, not bad, not bad. He'll get handcart for free as Vikings in Castle H. Now, my favorite thing about Fatslob is the landing area for his villagers. Now, I've seen a lot of this game already, and Red does it sometimes as well. And what I've been told from YouTube, and look, Red still doesn't have farmers here. Maybe he's saving that food for later. But what I've been told by people who apparently do this as well, is that you guys really like to have an idea of where your villagers are and what they're doing at all times. So when you create vills, and Red is not creating vills right now, but let's say when Fatslob creates vills, sometimes instead of sending them to the wood like that, he'll send them here and then they'll just sit there. You guys might prefer those groups, I guess, because then you have more control, or can see your idle villagers. I don't know, maybe you guys don't use the idle villager hotkey, or it's just how you like to play. I see Fatslob has his market. He has his blacksmith. He's building some houses over here. He really should get his eco upgrades, like double bed X and horse collar. Yeah, it's a good time to get it. You have the resources for it. And then you could plop down a bunch of farms, but he's in no rush. And Red... See, look! Red's doing it! Red is doing Fatslob things against Fatslob. And also, Red is stonewalling up. I don't know if he knows Fatslob's reputation. However, at the beginning, remember, Fatslob told him the Civs are Vikings. So, I know that Civs Vikings is exactly, word for word, what Fatslob has in his game room description. But I think that this is what was typed. And with Red's description, I think he was asking Fatslob to change the speed. And Fatslob said, okay. So, anyways, it's just interesting to me, the similarities between the two players here. And remember, Red is lower rated. I did not have a chance to look at his profile and see how many games he has. Probably should have investigated a little bit more. But this is something, see, what I would do is I would send this villager to a straggler tree. And that villager would have chopped 2 wood or 3 wood in the time it was sitting there for Red. Oh, he's building another mill. Interesting. Okay, so he's going for a lot of mills. No eco upgrades for any of them, if you exclude wheelbarrow, which is free. But yeah, normally... Oh, he didn't like that farm placement. Okay. Alright, that's a little bit better. Normally what I would do, and this is what I suggest with straggler trees to all my low elo legends out there, is create new vills, send them to a tree so they're doing something, then you can pull them right off the wood and build a farm. But I don't think lower elo players really like to change tasks. And Fatslob, he doesn't just send villagers somewhere, he sends them right here. He very rarely will build farms in this area. He always leaves a little gap. And that's special. That's one thing I really like about Fatslob. What are we at? 18 minutes and 30 seconds. Red is on the way to the Castle Age. Fatslob's doing okay, though. He has 1 more villager. And that 1 more villager is just sitting there. Yeah, like, he's not sending them to the stragglers. It's so interesting. Alright, 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 alright. Well, Fatslob's taking this gold forward. His scout's just sitting there. He has 2 layers of stone walls, which is actually quite low compared to what Fatslob normally goes for. So 2 layers of stone walls. Red has gone for, I guess, technically 3 here. And then he has, I can't count, yeah, 3 here as well. So someone walling more than Fatslob. Interesting. It almost seems like Red has to know, right? It seems like Red has to know, or at least have an idea, but this is not something you'll see from Fatslob. A barracks, so maybe Red's thinking about making some military. If you look at Red's point of view, Red can, he can see that Fatslob has stone walls, so I don't know what his plan is with that, but what I'd suggest normally is booming. By the way, he did get double bid X and he did get horse collar, something Fatslob still did not get. So his farms will last a bit longer. Oh, also, so there's no auto farm on Classic Age of Empires. So you have to, if you want farms to automatically reseed, you have to put the farms in the mill. So that's 120 wood he's invested in the mill. Interesting that he did that, because I saw that farmer immediately go back to farming. Yeah, okay, so he's going for an archery range. Well, okay, red is also attacking these palisade walls, which is probably annoying Fatslob because he does get the attack noise for that, but nothing he can really do. A Fatslob still farming, and look at the gap, guys. Look at the spot. He won't build anything here. This is so Fatslob. This is so Fatslob. I love it. Okay, 21 minutes in. Suspense is high in this Black Forest game. This is the most serious Black Forest game that I will cast this week. Also, it is the only Black Forest game that I will cast this week. Okay, it's the most intense Black Forest game that I will cast this year. I can't really speak for the future, but this could be better than the other Fatslob upload I had. I'm just trying to hype it up a little bit. There's nothing else for me to do right now. I'm sorry. There's nothing else for me to talk about. I guess we could talk about the mining camps for red. But, you know, I'd be extra critical. It's not the worst. It'd probably be better if you had a one-tile gap between this mining camp and the gold, so we could have villagers here, instead of just having to walk around the sides. But again, I'd be overly critical. Okay, now this town center, this is a little bit interesting. He has decided to build a town center on the straggler trees, so he does not like straggler trees. Now, I'm with you. This version of Black Forest is pretty bad. All these little trees are kind of unnecessary. I like to clear those out. Yeah, maybe a TC right up against the wood line. A TC here would be great. You have the wood to go to and the gold to go to. But he has handcart already. Fatslobs are about to arrive in Castle Age, so he'll have it too. This comes down to booming. Now, in most Fatslob games, even if the player that is playing up against Fatslob is lower rated, Fatslob tends to go for less eco and a university pretty early to get fortified wall. Like, that is high up on his priority list, is to get a university out. Alright, Fatslob, what's the plan here? I think he just pulled villagers off of wood. Alright, no new villagers yet. TC. Okay, see, I like this town center. Up against the wood and near the gold. I like it a lot. Alright, alright, alright. Red got double bit axe, which is the Castle Age wood upgrade. He's going to get the chop in here. And Fatslob's getting heavy plow and bow saw. Good to see the eco upgrades. Now, extra golds and relics is something that I did not bring up. So as red builds another TC, which is just slightly questionable, right? It's not a big deal, but normally let's say here. Oh, wow. I thought that was a town center. What are the odds of that? Okay, instead of building the university up on a hill, he's going to build it up against a wood line. See, that would be a better TC than this. Alright? But anyways, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the extra golds are really important to talk about. So, normally, there's 2 extra golds, and those are 3 tiles. So I think red has 1. And then the other one is... where is it? Is there just 1? Here. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It was pretty obvious. Okay, yeah. Fatslob has that one. So that's fair. And then there's always 5 relics on each map. And Fatslob has 3. So he has 1, 2, and 3. Alright, so Fatslob should be favored with long-term golds. These games can go very late. In fact, there was a game on Fatslob's profile, and no, I'm not casting it. Don't even ask. That was 3 hours and 57 minutes. Spoilers, he did win that game. But he had 4 relics to 1. So, the opponent did a great job. Relics give you a trickle of gold, and in a game that long, you run out of gold around the 1 hour, 20 minute mark. So how that guy held on, I'm not sure. It took Fatslob a long time to kill off his opponent. Yeah, red's actually going to get his first relic now. 1 relic difference happens pretty frequently in Black Forest when the walls come up. And I do pay attention to that. Like, Fatslob wins almost every time that he has more relics or an extra gold pile, he tends to win. Because he goes for what he considers to be, and what I consider to be, the best composition with Vikings. Which is Berserks, Scorpions, Trebs, and Onagers. At least the way he plays it. I think that's the university there for Fatslob. And then Fatslob will be thinking about fortified wall. He's slightly behind economically. But nothing crazy right now. I wonder if red's going to get fortified wall. Because he did build that university. Both players are saving up their resources to go to the Imperial Age. And that is a castle for Fatslob. It is very like Fatslob to build his castles far back. He doesn't like to build them forward because then they can be ranged by trebuchets. I think in a lot of situations, you would want to build your castles forward if you're going out for the attack, but Fatslob prefers that the enemy does it so he can just treb it down. Do you see what I mean about the gold, though? You see how far these villagers have to walk around? These villagers could actually be in here if he left a one-tile gap. So, in general, obviously everything depends, but in general, you want to leave a one-tile gap between your stone and between your mining, right? And then you want no gaps between your lumber camp and your wood. Because you're going to chop through the wood a whole lot faster than you are going to mine through stone and mine through gold. And, like, this lumber camp's pretty good for red. In fact, with this many villagers, you could even just build another one. Like, over here or something for efficiency. But it's no big deal. He's farming a lot right now. I wish you could see how many villagers were on each resource. That's something that DE spoils me with. Here we have about 12. That is a decent amount on wood right now. Fatslob will be the first one to the Imperial Age. Believe it or not, Fatslob might be the person to rush in this game. There's been many, many games where Fatslob was off to a much weaker start and he would lose. Here, he has 57 villagers. It is 68 for red. Actually, there's been games where Fatslob has had a much weaker start and he has lost, and then there's been games where he has won. So, I don't really know what that statement achieved. But I love how both are getting fortified wall. There's one thing to take away from this game so far, YouTube. It is the fact that red and blue are pretty similarly skilled, and also the way they see this Black Forest game is similar. I like it. Now Fatslob, he's back to sending villagers to his little launching pad or landing pad. He just likes to see them, apparently. Now he's building his siege workshops. And he's going to be making mangonels just in case any rams come in. We'll talk about compositions and we'll talk about all of that. So, just to bring up a couple other things here while we have the time. I have been going pretty crazy with content over the last 7 months. So my plan when November rolled around and Age of Empires 2 DE came out was to commit a lot of time to it. More hours streaming each week, more hours on YouTube videos, and I also had moved, right? So I was in a completely different area. Hidden Cup 3 came in March, and the channel had, or the Twitch channel had 52,000 people watching live at one point. Huge success for me. I'm very, very grateful for all of it. However, I finally got to take a little bit of time for myself this week. I'm saying this because I want you guys to know, if you're looking to stop by the stream, I'm going to be off for like 4 or 5 days. It's nothing crazy. But also because I'm kind of proud of myself, YouTube, because I realized, especially with quarantine and all the other things that have been going on, is that, no, I haven't prioritized myself as much as I should have been doing. Like, I deserve a little bit better, deserve a little bit more sleep. The problem is I'm so addicted to doing this. It's not like I'm slaving away. It's not like I don't like doing this. It's that I'm obsessed with doing it, right? And I just haven't been able to take care of everything else. So I don't know if that speaks to anyone out there. Maybe someone is working overtime and going crazy right now. You might not have the option like me to take a little bit of time for yourself. But I guess my ask of you guys out there, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, is just to make sure you can find some time, or try and make a little bit of time, even if it's just an hour, to breathe, relax, and don't be too hard on yourself, alright, guys? I don't know what you guys see me as, but you always see the good me. You always see the me that I want to show the public, but I do have rough times. I do get stressed out, and so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm actually going to be seeing some friends I haven't seen in a while, seeing some family I haven't seen in a while as well. Of course, still being safe with all the craziness out there, but I'm really looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to the things I'm going to announce and the things we're going to do on stream and on YouTube when I come back, but there's always going to be time for that. This game has been around for 20 years, and this community is blooming, so I shouldn't take it quite as seriously as I do sometimes. 84 villagers for red, 73 villagers for blue. Fatslob has 2 mangonels behind his fortified walls. And Dad Iron, what do I call him? Dad Iron or Dad Iron? I guess I'm going to do Dad Iron. I kind of like the thought of both of these guys being like 60 years old. You know what I mean? Like, Dad Iron is a guy who used to bodybuild when he was younger, or maybe still does. I don't know. And Fatslob is, according to his profile, like 70 years old. So when Fatslob spoke to me, he says that he's younger than his profile suggests. But I do like the idea of these guys being the two guys in their 50s or 60s playing a 1v1. That's pretty cool. In an age where many people are seen as younger or more childish if they play video games, which is totally not true. That stereotype's ridiculous. That would be cool for me. But yeah, Dad Iron is playing this similarly to Fatslob in many ways. However, this is where you start to see some changes, guys. What Fatslob does is he goes for Elite Berserk, which is the best infantry unit you can make as Vikings. Better than Champion. He does not go for Arbalest. He does not go for Pikemen. He doesn't go for Elite Skirm. He doesn't go for Pikes. He doesn't go for Arbs. He doesn't go for Champion. What he does is Berserks for infantry, Onagers and Scorpions for range, and then Trebuchets. And that is it. In fact, he rarely even makes Rams. And that is something that Vikings do pretty commonly, so it might be something Dad Iron chooses to do. Now, if you follow Fatslob, and I know there are people out here who pretty much only watch the Fatslob games, and you guys are legends. Fatslob, he kills people who don't make the correct compositions. There's a reason that Fatslob uses those units, because they tend to shred. So this will be a fun one as we slowly near closer to when the fights will happen. The game is developing pretty slowly. It's 98 villagers for Dad Iron, and then it's 81 for Fatslob. Fatslob, did he get all of his relics? He didn't yet. There's still a relic over here, but he has 2 and Red has 2. Been meaning to check what's over here. Oh, those are wolves. Hold on, don't make a noise. What? Don't they... Oh! Oh, you hear that? That was worth the wait. Okay, Fatslob's getting that relic now. And look at the onager times! These guys are so similar! You know, it's classic Age of Conquerors balance. The reason Fatslob plays Vikings is because Vikings cannot get siege onager, and that's what you needed back in the day to chop through trees. Nowadays, you can use onagers, and you just get onager, which most civilizations get, and you can just take down the trees, and then you can rush. Fatslob doesn't like rushing. But it's funny to me how they're both getting onager right now. And Champion's on the way for Red. He does have decent upgrades. It looks like he's got infantry upgrades and archer upgrades, but he still needs to get a few more. Things are pretty clumped for Red, but it's because he has more economy. You see how they're both sending villagers here like this? Like, these villagers could have been sent to wood, and they could be collecting resources while you wait to see if you need more farms. They just don't like to do that. And you see Fatslob doing the same thing. Here, he's using this TC to send villagers to gold. Here, this TC, the villagers are just chilling in their little spot. Here, he's doing the same thing. Now, I don't know if Fatslob knows this, but there might be one person listening that does not know this. If you have a lumberjack, like this guy, or sorry, this lumberjill here, she has 8 wood. If you select the vill, press build, press farm, and place a farm while the wood is still in her hands, when the farm completes, those resources go into your bank. I think a lot of people get confused by that one because they think that you will lose the resource. Like if you have wood in her hands and then you click gold, then you do lose that. But if you build a farm, whether you have food, gold, wood in your hands, it doesn't matter. The resources actually get dropped off. So I think that that might be a big reason why people don't like to take my suggestion and send them to wood and then pull them off of wood to build farms, because you get sick of... If you think the way I think you're thinking, you get sick of right-clicking the TC to drop off the resource and then build a farm. It's almost too much for you. So it's better for you and better for your multitasking to have them in groups like this. Now, Fatslob, I hope he never changes. Fatslob, I hope he continues to do it this way. But truthfully, if he wanted to improve, he would want to make some changes there. So Fatslob normally takes his good old time. He has onager, he has scorpions, he's getting heavy scorpion. This is what Fatslob can see. Fatslob can see pretty much nothing. This is a spec bug, so he can't see that there are buildings there like we can. I love this. This just looks beautiful to zoom out like this. This is amazing. I can't wait until DE has this. I'm so happy that it was announced that Microsoft is funding the Capture Age team now. Really happy for them as individuals. They're all great guys, but also really happy for me. Perhaps selfishly, I don't think it's selfish, but I just won Capture Age, man. I want to show you guys what it looks like with DE. More information on the screen for you, easier for me to spectate. Maybe some things will change there. Okay, but let's break this down. So far, Fatslob has onagers, trebs, scorpions. And we're not going to count the scouts. So he has 3 military types. It's all siege, but you know what I mean, like units, right? Red has heavy scorpion, arbalest, champion, onager. And I imagine he's going to make a treb at some point. So let's just get ahead of the game and say he's going to do that. He has a whole lot more. Now, Viking Light Cav, Viking Cavalier, really bad option. I've seen many people do it anyways, though, because if the games go on long, you're going to have food, so people figure why not. Getting Pikemen, again, it's a trash unit that does not cost gold. If you fear you're going to run out of gold, which I'm sure they will. Teching Pikemen is something we see pretty commonly as well. Fatslob never does that. You can correct me if I'm wrong, YouTube, but I've never seen Fatslob go for Light Cav, Pikeman, or Skirmisher, or even Arb. But you know, I've been doing this for a long time. I might be wrong on that. He builds his castles way in the back, so he won't lose them, so he can produce those berserks. And Fatslob only has 1 single blacksmith upgrade right now, and that's fletching. That's it. Red has 30 more population. Red will go over here to collect that gold, I think. Or I thought. And now he's thought twice. What in the... Did he get scared off by the wolves? I don't know where they're going now, but villagers were definitely going there to build a mining camp. He still has plenty of gold, though. He still has this gold over here. It's kind of awkward because he built his buildings here like this. But eventually, those villagers are going to chop through the trees and we can take the golds. He still could do it. It's just going to be pretty inefficient. Where are these villagers going? Where did he click them? Did he just click them back over to this gold? I'm going to follow them. I'm curious now. Is it this gold? By the time the villagers make it there, there's not going to be any gold remaining. I guess, you know, there's no rush. Siege engineers for him. We'll give his onagers +1 range. Very, very important upgrade. You see Fatslob's actually getting Bodkin Arrow. So that's really only affecting his castles. Those ranged upgrades would affect Arbalest, castles, TCs. Does not affect Scorpions. But he has a bunch of trebuchets here. Okay, I said it was going to track and then I forgot. Red. Oh, I'm sorry guys. I set a control group, or so I thought, on the villagers. Oh, that doesn't work here. Oh, my bad. Yeah, I tried to set them to a number so I could go back to them. I think they were click to gold. It said they were miners. Miner, I hardly know her. Huh. Crop rotation, good eco upgrade. I can get on board with that. Forging now for Fatslob, so he's thinking of berserks. I think he just got elite berserk. So more technologies for red. Something we have seen before. And then Fatslob waits for you, and he just says, hey, come on in. Welcome to my base. And then, boom, he slaughters you. Those champions, which... as of now, Red doesn't really have much against what Fatslob has except for his own onagers. It comes down to that pretty frequently, where your best option is to just make what Fatslob's making. That happens commonly in mirror matchups at the high level. Fatslob, you can consider high level at this setting because he's one of the only players who plays it. So, yeah, we'll give him that much. Masonry, iron casting, hoarding, so just upgrades coming in. Good to see players using the blacksmith. We know Fatslob will. Dad iron. He's doing as well now. In fact, he's ahead, right? He's ahead. Look at the bottom right. He's getting more techs than Fatslob is. He's ahead with the resources he has in the bank. But Fatslob is not being pressured, so he's eventually going to have slightly more because of the relic. But he's on all of his golds right now, bringing in res and now making more onagers. So again, Fatslob hasn't seen anything And Red hasn't seen anything either. Now there's two sides. So you have this side, and you have this side. It would be interesting to see Red maybe attack the left side, and then Fatslob delete his walls, bust through Red's walls, and go to the right. That was the first notable thing about this game when I saw it, was the fact that there wasn't just one choke, there's two choke points. There was that game, I think 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. I recommend watching it if you haven't already, where Fatslob's opponent asked him to delete his walls. Fatslob did delete his walls, and then Fatslob killed the guy. It was great. Like, these walls are not to protect me from you. It is to protect you from me. Alright, this is the first little bit of action ever since the Dark Age. Fatslob's walls are being attacked. Alright. Things are starting to heat up here. 49 minutes and 23 game time seconds. Red is actually destroying his own palisade walls in the process with the splash damage. Not a big deal with his fortified walls. He's getting Berserker Gang, which will heal up Berserks, which he doesn't have. They regenerate, which is very nice with Berserker Gang. Regenerate pretty fast as well. And now Fatslob's like, surprise, buddy! That's just what I've been waiting for. So he has trebuchets. Now, Red did not make any trebuchets. At this point, he might be thinking, do I make my own trebs? What do I do? Do I make rams? I see capped rams on the way. Alright, Red just poked the beehive. Fatslob, he's maybe thinking more about attacking now. Still no berserks for him, but he's getting some of the upgrades. He actually trebbed down a villager there. Could treb Red's walls, of course. And instead, he's going to treb the trees. Now, that would be Red's best option, and really only option if he didn't want to bust down the walls from Fatslob. Excuse me, this has not been my best cast. I think maybe bringing trebs over here to sneak around to be the play. I've seen people attempt it before. It just takes so long. Very, very time consuming. And now Red's getting chain barding armor, which would be armor for his cav. I guess his scout will benefit from it. Fatslob, if he's thinking about it, which I can guarantee you he's not, could click that and see the stats on it to see the upgrades coming in. He'd probably be licking his lips like, oh, you're going to make light cav? That's great. Yeah, and I guess if the light cav upgrade comes in too, that would be upgraded and it would show Fatslob what's going on. But it's interesting to me how Fatslob is going after the trees here, because normally he likes the choke. He could just treb Red's walls down and delete his and have a nice little choke point to work with, but he's opening this up. Now, if his walls stay there forever, then the choke point might be the same size as it would be if he were to delete his walls and do what I just said, but this is different. It's also different to see Fatslob be the more aggressive one. Alright. Plate mail armor. Or plate mail arm on the way. Oh, I can't wait till Dad Iron gets that. Did I miss it? Oh no, I think he got it already. Oh, that would have been a great joke because he's Dad Iron. He has an iron arm. It's alright. It's alright. I'm not known for great jokes. Murder holes for Fatslob, the tech that everyone knows is the best tech in the game. And now there's no minimum range on the castles. It's very rare that someone makes it to Fatslob's castles. Right now it looks like maybe Red needs to consider murder holes because Fatslob is thinking about pushing forward. Now Fatslob has so many resources. He has 4,000 gold. He has that extra relic. He should be favored here. He's put less resources into upgrades that may just end up being useless. He does not have the Arbalest upgrade, doesn't have the crossbow upgrade, didn't make these units, didn't make champions. So if this doesn't pay off for Red, he's going to be in a pickle. Will Dad Iron be able to fight the Fatslob? Can he fight the deadly composition? Or will he be like so many others who have never faced him before, and they step in, and they're like, oh boy, man, I could see how this composition wins so many games. 2,500 to be exact, maybe closing in on 3,000 now. Fatslob plays so many games. He's been averaging about 2 games a day over the past couple weeks. And I know when quarantine really heated up, he was playing a little bit more. So, I don't know very much about the guy. We can only speculate. But he certainly found more time around then, like many people did. And then Age of Empires 2 had record numbers. That was... Oh no, Fatslob, you animal! Okay, he just deleted 3 villagers, and he's like, then he decides that these villagers are worthy. But, I guess he needed pop space. Yeah, Age of Empires 2 had record numbers on DE, on HD, and then on Voobly, and then also on Twitch, over the same couple weeks. I'm really proud of Hidden Cup 3's numbers, and I know we would have killed it anyways, because you guys are so supportive of me, and we're so pumped for that, but also it is true that there were more people who had time because of everything that was going on, and they had to be at home. So I did slightly benefit from that. Siege Ram for Dad Iron. Now, I can't wait to look at total technologies at the very end of this. That would be really cool. Just what if Dad Iron's able to get the win, despite putting more resources into a worse composition? Or will it be another one of those games where Fatslob just steamrolls? Right now, I'm all in on Fatslob. Everything says Fatslob should win this. He has more resources, he has the extra relic, and he has the composition which tends to work so well for him. Now this is what Red can see. Because his walls are being attacked, he can see what's attacking his walls, and a little bit of space around it. So he can see there's onagers, scorpions, and trebs. And now Fatslob has deleted his own walls. Very rare to see Fatslob do this. I just had a panic attack. Not a real panic attack. I've had real panic attacks and they suck. But I thought that my mic was muted this whole time. So I looked over when I wasn't talking and thought, oh no, did I just talk for a whole half hour while being muted? I've done that more times than I'd like to admit. And the worst thing about it is, when you recast it, it's just not the same. The first time you do it is always the most genuine. I don't like to have to repeat myself. You guys might not pick up on it, but I do. How much military here? 90 military for Dad Iron and 81 for Fatslob. And now Dad Iron is getting Cavalier and Light Cav. So he's just going to get every technology he can think of, because he knows this game is going to be crazy long. Fatslob has 15,000 wood. Wood he could sell if he wants to. And that would give him a bit of gold. The price probably isn't too hot there. And you can see the Q at the top left if you're unfamiliar with Capture Age. So look to the top left to see the reinforcements when the fights begin. Alright, Fatslob slowly breaking down these walls. The big fight is coming, YouTube. Fatslob's just clicking his siege. Not much else right now. Okay, so how many onagers does Fatslob have? He has 10. Red has 10. They're both 200 pop. Scorpions, we have 12 against 32, so there's a pretty big difference there. Infantry units, we're looking... I guess I don't even need to click them, right? Because it's down at the bottom. So it's 35 for Red. And then for Fatslob, he has 24. But yeah, the heavy siege makes a lot more sense. Now, if Red had double the onager numbers, he might be in a good position to flatten Fatslob's onagers, and then also flatten Fatslob's scorpions and trebs. That's very important to note, and maybe this is why Fatslob took out the trees. When you're fighting on top of a hill, you do 25% more damage, and you receive 25% less damage. So this is a huge advantage for Fatslob, both with the composition, the resources, and then the hill. But both players will have to push up a hill, won't they? Red's going to have to push up this hill, and I guess the hill Fatslob's on right now. And then if Fatslob's going to win this game, he's going to need to push this hill. That might not be easy. Now, the Q for Red is what I've seen before. There are many players who seem slightly more capable in late game with queuing up units for reinforcements. But they still can't, and they can't break Fatslob. But Fatslob is cutting through now. He has 3 Berserks queued. That's it. 3 Berserks. He does have full upgrades. I'd really like to show you the player fog of war, because it kind of gives you the feel of what it might have been like for Fatslob at the time. He's not sure what's over there. I think Red's going to have more of an idea of what's going on. because his walls are being attacked, right? So he can see the Berserks now. He can see the Onager. Alright, Fatslob doesn't see much. He sees the champion. Now, again, if you see the champion, you've got to be very, very happy. Now, Red's going to do something here which is really interesting. So, I can't wait. I always like it when people chat a little bit. As long as it's not disrespectful. I don't like super disrespectful conversation, but a little bit of banter here or there, or just some wisecracks or two. I'm all about that. 7,000 gold. Red's posted up and Fatslob's posted up. They're waiting. They're waiting for the big fight. Fatslob does this all day, every day. He loves to do this. He's built up over an hour for this moment right here. I know everyone watching at home right now, you guys are really excited to see how this will go. I'd say about 79.3%, just a rough guesstimate, want Fatslob to win. Because you guys are like, Fatslob gives me as a noob a lot of hope. Or they just think he's cute. I don't know exactly. Okay, do you see this? Red says, yes, bravo. Do you see that? That's pretty cool. Now, I don't know, like, that could be said in a sarcastic tone. Or he could actually be giving Fatslob a pat on the back, like, bravo, for opening up the walls, for having a really solid army. I would like to believe there's mutual respect here. I don't know if it goes both ways, but that's what I would like to believe. But yeah, anyways, what did I say? 79.3% of people want Fatslob to win. And then there's a lot of people who are like, T90, every time you cast Fatslob, he wins. I want someone else to win. I want to see Fatslob lose. Would be an extraordinary victory for Red if he were to do this, because he's making mistakes that others have made before. So far, Fatslob has a 3-to-1 KD. And, okay, this is the starting scout. Red is going to send his light cav in to see what Fatslob has. Just passing. Just passing. Alright, he runs through. He actually makes it a lot further than you would have expected. And so he can see there are siege workshops there, and he just says 11. See, I think Red's having a fun... Yeah, look, he says 11, bravo. Again, I think Red's just having fun here. It's like, alright, Fatslob, well played, well played. I see what you're doing. He says strong artillery. It's like, wow, this guy has a lot of siege. I like this. I really like in-game chat in Age of Empires. I can't wait till on DE. It's been 7 months without in-game chat. I can't wait till I can see players talk again. Especially as we're doing low elo legends, right? I want to see if players are communicating. Age of Empires community is different. Like there are some things that I appreciate about Age of Empires that I don't really appreciate about other games. And chat's definitely one of them. Okay, I don't know why the game slows down. It's not for dramatic effect, I promise. And here comes Fatslob. Now, Fatslob doesn't know what Red has over here. And Fatslob sees the Onager, tries to get it, actually does get it with his Treb. And now sees that his opponent has Onagers and Scorpions and has a hill. Now, Fatslob goes for this trick where you can place palisade walls on any area where there's not units or buildings. So, you do have to spend the resources for it, but he has 22,000 wood. So, there's an outpost. He might do the palisade wall thing, and it will only let you place it where there's no units or buildings, but then anytime units walk across that, you can see it. It's one of those things where it's not a bug, it's a feature, you know? Okay, the outpost shows there's a barracks there. Fatslob already saw the champions. Did he see the champions? He saw the champions, right? Actually, I'm not... Well, earlier he could have seen one or two, but right there he didn't. Okay, here's the palisade thing. Yeah, so he is trying to place palisades in a lot of spots, and you can see a berserk is there, and that is elite. You can see a pikeman, and now the villagers are actually going to build that. He didn't click them back, so now we can just see everything. And he sees the red has a mix. This is like, if this was one of my favorite snack foods, it would be Chex Mix. We got champions, pikemen, arbalest, scorpions, onagers, berserks, monks, rams, everything. Pretty much everything Vikings can do. Cavalier, there's a light cav in there. He's getting block printing right now. I guess it's not that expensive, but block printing gives the monks a little bit more vision or line of sight. Monks have 9 line of sight, and then with block printing they get +3, so 12 is quite nice. But Viking monks are pretty trash. They don't get redemption, so they can't convert to siege. That would change things. So these are just scouting monks then? Oh, he just tried to convert. That's funny. He just tried to convert the onagers. The noise you heard, if you guys heard it, I hope the audio levels are good, was the noise you get when you cannot convert siege. Huh, okay. He could convert a berserk possibly, but for these old men it's going to be a very dangerous journey. And Fatslob's actually thinking about fighting now. Now Red has more military, but he'll be fighting up the hill, and this is a deadly composition from Fatslob. Red has the Q, so he could have reinforcements, but everything could just get slaughtered. It's a good start for Red. The uphill volleys are difficult to land, but he did land a few there. I, again, have no clue. I need to speak to Capture H about why this slows down, but just pretend it's for dramatic effects. Okay, here we go. The Berserks are there, the Onagers are there, the Trebs are there. So many Trebuchets for Fatslob. I think it's possibly a mistake from him to have moved these out. Usually Fatslob will keep those Trebs protected, but he has Berserks, and now Red's champions are going to get slaughtered. Yeah, guys, I don't know why this is doing this. But Red's taking a decent fight. If you think about the amount of gold units that Fatslob just lost, that's pretty huge. Fatslob has double the gold in the bank and will have more gold long term. And now the champions are going to get shredded by the scorpions. Actually, I'm going to lower the game sound too. This is pretty freaking loud, man. Holy. You can tell I don't use this too frequently. Pretty much only when I do Fatslob videos now. But good job from Red. The KD is pretty close. Fatslob's trebuchet losses. Not something you would expect from him. But what we're seeing now is the next wave from Red. In post-Imperial, it's really important to have the next wave. So he's creating more units. The problem is he's sending his units in 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3, and he's going to lose them to the Scorpion. So I think he needs to regroup. But a little bit of everything queued up. Fatslob's just going to queue up more Berserks and more Onagers, as he tends to do. Fatslob, he will outlast Red at this point when it comes to resources, just because of that one relic. So Red's going to need another fight like that, and another fight like that, and another fight like that, and he's going to have to somehow push this. But Fatslob doesn't have any stone for a castle. I think he's completely out of stone at this point. Oh yeah, wait a second. It says there's stone on the map. Where is that? It's probably, oh, here it is. Yep, okay. So there's stone in the north there. That'll take forever to chop to. So I'm thinking maybe a forward castle for Fatslob or a castle here. I think, well, I get his reasoning behind not building forward castles. One on the hill would be really nice if Red were to try and push him again. And Red's back up to 200 population. Fatslob's taking his good old time, queuing up Berserks. And Red says, alright, let's go. Let's go. Now, if you're making light cav and you're sniping gold units, that's good, because you will have food and wood. What you're not going to have in Red's position is the gold. Yeah, it seems like the maybe Capture Age isn't optimized anymore, because when the fights come, things slow down. Did he kill any gold units there? Close to killing a trebuchet. They couldn't raid Fatslob's economy, but oh, here comes some Cavalier. Now, they lack the final armor upgrade, and they lack bloodlines. Pretty critical things to lack. This is Red's point of view here, and he kills a few gold units, but how many will he lose? Cavalier are not cheap, and now these units could get flattened by Onagers. Oh man, Fatslob just needs to get more Berserks in here, I think, as Red just dives in. Dad Iron doesn't care. He doesn't care. The KD is really getting bad for him now. He doesn't seem to really mind. I'm actually going to zoom out from the fight so you guys can see it and just enjoy it. This is beautiful. It's the Scorpions, man. If Red's going to have success, he needs big Onager shots on the Scorpions. Scorpions stack up against each other, and they're pretty low HP, so you could flatten them. Good thing for Red is he was able to get over that hill a little bit. Fatslob does not seem confident enough to sit here. One thing I haven't brought up is that we haven't seen a single trebuchet yet from Red. I don't think we've seen a single one. Oh man, the monk's running, the onager's running, and... Oh, what? How did that onager... Did you see that? How did that onager go down? I thought that one got hit. That's funny. Just 20-year-old game things. Dad Iron is selling food. As Fatslob is selling wood, they realize gold is going to be an issue. Yeah, they're both selling res, and you can see how much they had to sell to get gold. Thank you, Capture Age. Dad Iron just bought himself 2,000 more gold, or 2,500 more gold. I guess technically sold himself. I think he'll like that. I like the style points. This easily could have been a misclick, but he also has units inside that one ram. Yeah, he has Arbalest inside the ram. Fatslob has brought his trebs forward. This is what Fatslob can see. He had to create quite a few more trebuchets. Still has that extra relic. Still has more wood and more food to sell if need be. That's one thing about Fatslob that is a bit confusing. You could argue he could sell a lot more food and a lot more wood, because he doesn't make trash units. So if you don't make trash units, you don't need to save up as much wood and food, right? You know, have 5, have 10,000. Fatslob researching cartography? What? I think he canceled that. Oh, he misclicked it. We just witnessed a misclick. He accidentally clicked cartography. And if you know where that is in the market too, it's not that close to the sell button. Alright, it's alright. He's played one too many games today. But yeah, you could sell more, I guess. Now, was that worth it for Red? I think it was. There was some pretty serious friendly fire there. Fatslob took out 2 of his own onagers. Worth it. If Fatslob can take out more of Red's production buildings, that will hurt Red. Because I think that's the one thing that he could win the game with. But is he just going to be spamming more units into Fatslob Siege, like so many people have done before? Or does Dad Iron actually have a chance? Remember, he said heavy artillery, so he realized what was going on. And things slow down as Red runs up the hill. And look at the champions! Oh, that's going to hurt so much. Now, the onagers should probably be microed back a little bit. Red actually gained the hill, so he'll do more attack. Alright, a few onagers go down. A few trebuchets go down. Choo-choo! Dad Iron is coming in with the ram, and there's Arbalest inside there. Oh my goodness, and Fatslob just killed more of his own units. Fatslob, I think, is getting a little bit thrown off by how Red's sending in his military. Of course, the Arbalests are going to go down, but Fatslob's trebs again went down there. 172 population for Fatslob, 174 for Dad Iron. Man, the speed thing is bothering me. This is the last time I'm going to bring it up, because if I continue to bring it up, you guys are just going to notice it more. It might not matter to you guys, but it's silly because I have an amazing PC. Fatslob loses another trebuchet. Now, some hero in the YouTube comments is going to, they're going to tally up how many trebuchets Fatslob lost. That hero, please use a spoiler tag. Okay, if someone's saying that Fatslob lost like 40 or 50 trebuchets, that is spoiling very much what is important in this game. So, please do that, hero, or heroes. Oh man, if Fatslob gets an onager shot in the scorpions, it's going to be amazing. Oh, can you imagine? Look at them stacked. Red still has way more queued up. Fatslob has the comp. He's flattening some siege here. He's losing some of his own siege, and Red is adding his own trebs. He likes that strategy, and now Red is coming in with light cav. Now, I'll show you the HP on the light cav just to give you an idea of how bad they are when they get hit by the scorpions and the berserks. But Red's still taking out some gold units, which is good. Is he going to have his own gold units to finish off the game? Can he conserve his own onagers, or will Fatslob just hold? The light cav melt. Killed some siege, and now Red behind all of that, behind that front line wave, he is using his onagers to take out Fatslob's trebuchets, or trying to. This is really awkward. Fatslob has 300 kills, 140 deaths, so the fights are certainly going better for him right now. He now has more population than Dad Iron with 165, and Dad Iron has 150. Lots of micro. Fatslob chooses to send in the Berserks. This is probably a good time to. I just hope that he commits to being here. It might seem silly, but once that Onager's out, you still have more Berserks than Red does, and then you could maybe get some hits in on the Scorpions and the Arbs. Okay, I kind of expected that. Fatslob's going to click back to conserve numbers. With Berserks, it's not the worst thing because they regen, but I think maybe he could have got better value if he moved the rest of his units forward and committed to that fight. But there's a lot of Arbs and Scorpions, so maybe not. Looks like he's struggling with unit control anyways because the units go in again. He doesn't use stand ground for his infantry. He normally waits, and then when he's going to attack, he sends them forward. He doesn't keep them near the front lines. Guys, Red's reinforcements are actually doing something here. Do you see this? The Light Cav and the Berserks doing work. And now suddenly Fatslob, he's adding more villagers. He's adding only 7 more Berserks. Dad Iron, more population. Now it takes a lot more APM to keep queuing up. It's not easy, but it's been working for Red so far. Still, I just wonder if he's going to run out of gold. Like I said, this is a unique one, because in most other Fatslob episodes... Oh! No! Dad Iron! Those poor Arbalest. But yeah, most other Fatslob episodes, the person who's going for Light Cav, or anything but what Fatslob's going for, loses the amount of units that Dad Iron is losing, but they can't push. These trebuchets for Dad Iron, and just the siege micro in general for him, has been top tier for his elo. He's 15, 19 elo, I think. Should show up at the top left at some point. 15, 13. Fatslob at this time was about 50 elo ahead of him. It's funny, Fatslob goes through streaks though. Because Fatslob, as he's losing more siege units, and both their populations are low, Fatslob I think is 1650 right now. Had a huge win streak this week. So maybe, you know, he plays all the time. Sometimes he's not feeling too hot. Happens to the best of us. But Fatslob is actually backing up. He's actually deleting his workshops and backing up because he's worried about this. I love how Red just grouped up all of his units there. All 4 different types of his units and clicked them forward. Right, there's 3 onagers behind Fatslob. Has queued up more Scorpions, but he also has less workshops. And Red's getting some kills. Dad Iron has more Berserks queued up than Fatslob does. He has Skirmishers queued, he has Pikemen queued, he has Arbs queued. I know things are moving painfully slow, and I also know I said I wouldn't bring that up again, but I can't help but do that. Hey, maybe it was the lag that the players experienced too. That could be the issue. But I just love how close this game is. I love how Red said bravo earlier. I love the conversation. Fatslob, he's not really a wordy individual himself. I also love the fact that this might be the first time that Red has ever played Fatslob. And it's very possible he's never seen the videos, too, because he probably picked another civilization in the lobby. I don't think someone who knows Fatslob would do that. Ooh, nice shot. 6 trebuchets against 2. Fatslob, he does not have a lot of gold. Now, he could get desperate, sell the wood and sell the food, and get Berserks out. I think Berserks would be key. When you're relying on only certain units, you have to be making them at all times. Red's just sprinkling in everything. Skirmishers with upgrades, pikemen with upgrades, even the monks are coming forward. He is desperate to get the win against the legend, and he's just clicking forward, queuing up, and right now, pretty decent for him because the trebs are still standing. Fatslob knows how bad it is if the trebs are there. He tends to use the trebuchets himself, and he will not take out Red's trebs. And Red is even coming forward to repair the trebuchets. Very rare for a Fatslob game that Fatslob's on the back foot like this. And Fatslob might be struggling now. Okay, desperation mode. This is desperation mode. He's just queued up 28 Berserks. He doesn't have a huge ball of Scorpions anymore. He doesn't have Trebs, and he does not have Onagers. Now, if he were to tech into Pikeman and Skirmisher and Light Cav, he would at least have that option as a fallback. He never does that, because he never really needs them. Here, I think he would need something more than just Berserks. And if he loses the castles, then he can't make berserks. 153 population for Dad Iron. Fatslob is sending berserks to an area where there used to be a farm. Something tells me, knowing Fatslob, that might even be intentional. to send the berserks there. 39 berserks queued. Takes a while for these things to come out of the castles, and I think Red will know. Oh, Red doesn't know there's one there. Okay. He doesn't know about that one. Could start clearing out Fatslob's houses, too, and then Fatslob might get pop-capped. How many berserks does Fatslob have right now? It's 40 military against 110. It's mostly berserks and then a few scorpions in there. Now, if I'm Red, I continue doing what I'm doing, obviously, but I also would make arbalest or scorpions. Getting some range in there would be very nice. Normally, I'd say don't make arbalest, but you just destroyed Fatslob's siege workshops, so he can't make onagers right now. So, yeah, I think getting range is helpful. The pikemen are not going to trade well at all. In fact, the KDs are still really bad for Red, but it's something in front. Skirmishers might be a little bit helpful. Okay, here comes Fatslob. He's going to try and defend. Will this be the end of Fatslob, or can he come back here? He goes in after the Trebs. He will take out a lot of the trebuchets here, guys. Berserks, there's 22 of them. Alright, there's 20 of them. Man, these berserks are strong. Remember, it's 40 military against 100. Well, Fatslob will lose this castle if he does not take out these final 2 trebuchets. Alright, that castle's going to go down. And Red still is in a decent position. He still has the Q. Fatslob has more gold in the bank. He has more food in the bank. He doesn't have the numbers now. So there's a secret ingredient to Fatslob, or it's not a secret ingredient, really. There's certain ingredients to Fatslob's success soup. Ugh, that was the weirdest little comparison I've ever made, but we'll stick with it, alright? I'm hungry. I'll admit it. It's been a long game. And it's berserks, it's scorpions, it's onagers. He doesn't have all the ingredients for success. So many games I've seen Fatslob win when players would spam a variety of units and not the right units, but Red has done a really good job microing the siege. And also repairing the trebuchets, which is a nice little touch. I think even at the pro level, you don't see players repairing siege like that. Alright, now again, you know, maybe a few scorpions, maybe a few arbalest. There are 49 skirmishers, so even if the skirmisher is just doing 1 damage to a berserk, it's not bad when the berserk has 72 HP. It's helping. Even the monks are there healing too. That's super cool. There's so much that Red does here, which is very noob. But it's like good things that only noobs do, you know? I know people out there are like, finally, I never see this. Finally, we have people using monks to heal. Finally, we have someone repairing siege, and now some forward production buildings for Dad Iron. And even a forward castle. He sees the next castle for Fatslob. Fatslob does realize that he's getting pop-capped. He's not at 200 possible population. Here he comes again with the berserks. Now, 33 of them with the scorpions behind. Fatslob didn't exactly patrol there, but the units are coming in. This should be pretty good for him. Imagine if he had just 2 onagers. Perhaps it's a bit stubborn for Fatslob not to make more siege workshops. He's repairing the castle right now. He knows how important it's going to be here, and he is cleaning up Red's force. Fatslob's castle has 1100 HP. There's 3 trebs firing. They do about 400 HP each time a shot lands. He doesn't have enough repair vills, though. Fatslob will lose that castle as well. But it's 140 population for Fatslob. He might even be able to deny this castle. Red is sending unit after unit after unit. All the reinforcements coming in. Looks good for Fatslob all of a sudden, doesn't it? The KD is still insane, but the castle goes up. Okay, so now Fatslob has some real decisions to make. He can't sit underneath that castle. He has 2 castles remaining. He needs to decide between making berserks and making trebs. So Fatslob is making trebs. Now, that means he has to hold the line and have really good unit control to not run into Red's Castle Fire. That also means that it's going to give Red time to bounce back up to 200 pop. So he's still making a lot of trash, and the KD is not so good. But numbers have worked for him thus far, and at least he's sprinkling in some berserks here or there. Red is at the freaking limit right now. He is at the freaking limit for resources. He does not have a lot of wood in the bank, even though he has the lumberjacks. He's just spending the wood, right? Whereas I think Fatslob would sell the wood, sell the food, and get gold in return. And it's going to be tough for Red to take that Treb out. If he takes the Treb out, though, I think it's going to be more of a struggle for Fatslob because trebuchets take a long time to produce. And Fatslob might be giving him the opportunity now. We have 2 champions and then pikemen. Yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Fatslob loses 1. Fatslob could lose 2 here. Totally worth it for Red to sacrifice this trash, or mainly trash army against the Treb. No repairs for Fatslob as he builds another siege workshop. I think he realizes he needs the siege. This is a sick game. This is a really competitive game. I'm loving this. Fatslob on the back foot. Can he do it? Might be the only time I've ever shown a game where Fatslob's been pushed back into his base. Normally he dies before he can camp behind the walls. Very rarely do you see this, especially with the KD. And the extra relic. There's another Treb for Fatslob. Now that forward castle is getting enough kills to make it worth it, even if he loses it. Red has an onager there. The onager could be helpful. Red's going to build some more stables and archer range. He's going to build a mix of buildings forward so he can make his mix of units. And Fatslob sees the onager. No! He didn't get it. Okay, now he clicked everything after it. Wow. How important could that extra hit be? Because now Red could use the pikeman and the berserk after that Treb. He takes it out, and now if he takes this trebuchet out, Red could hold his castle. He still has the stone to repair. Previously, Red had used the pikemen against the trebuchets, but guys, this is where the game ended. Fatslob resigned. Fatslob tapped out of this one. Still had some potential, but maybe he felt like it was over. Maybe he realized the writing was on the wall, that the trebuchet would go down, that he wouldn't be able to push it back. I'm a little bit disappointed that Fatslob didn't continue to fight, because with berserks and maybe a few onagers and scorpions, he might be able to do it. Yeah, the game ended there, and Dad Iron actually did it. Now, what made this game interesting for me is that in most of Fatslob's wins, he has a 2 or 3 to 1 kill-death ratio. In most of Fatslob's losses, he has an awful kill-death ratio. Here, he had 779 kills. He had 365 deaths. He lost the game. Also, in most of Fatslob's wins, he has an extra relic, extra gold pile. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean it's the only reason he would get the win, but it helps him. Here, the extra gold piles were split, and Fatslob actually had the additional relic. So we're going to look at the total resources collected here in just a moment, but impressive game. Now, I know, for the people out there who wanted to see Fatslob win, because there are huge Fatslob fanboys, they might be disappointed, but hey, the guy has played thousands of games, he's lost thousands of games, and you win some, you lose some. Wow, that was fun, though. That was fun. I think the key was Red's onager and Treb micro. He did a much better job than Fatslob using the siege in this game. Maybe it was overconfidence from Fatslob because he's won against trash composition so frequently. He felt like it wouldn't really matter, but the onager micro and the Treb micro was much better for Red. And just the time that he used it. Like when he brought those 6 Trebs forward, it was immediately after he had taken out Fatslob's siege. He started taking out fortifications, and then he kept up the spam with it. I think Fatslob had one of his slower games, even by his standards, because he did not have the production of berserks. He only queued up 50 berserks when he realized that things were looking really bad for him, and he was really late to add more siege workshops as well. Certainly things that we can see, but I'm sure most of you know it's easier said than done in this game. Alright, so bear with me here. because I forgot about the achievement scene. I think we're gonna be okay here. This is awkward because I don't know if I'm gonna... Hold on. I actually had like a little business conversation. This is so unprofessional. I just gotta close this off to make sure I don't tab out and show you anything. Okay, we're good. You can still hear me, right? YouTube, you're there, right? We're okay? Okay, we're okay. My bad. I just wanted to make sure. I've actually made mistakes before where I've shown things I shouldn't, and then I had to delete it, and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Fatslob, 779 kills, as we said. Buildings lost, 18. Man, this is super tiny, and that's what she said. But, yeah, so he didn't raise that many buildings. He had more gold collected. He had more wood collected, and actually Red had more food. Red had a whole lot less food in the bank, but it was because Red was spending the food on all of his trash units. The stone count was similar. That's weird to me, how Red didn't have the same amount, because I think they had the same amount of stones. Maybe he misclicked a villager or two. And then there's the feudal age, castle age, and imperial age times. Where's the technology and research? Yeah, research percent. 64%. It was 42 for Fatslob, so the extra research is paid off. It was actually 63 researches against 42 as well. That's interesting. I don't know if the research percent and research count is normally so even. I think it's a civ by civ thing, but I've never picked up on this before. Notice how it's 63 researches and that's 64%, and then 42, 42. Okay, there's the timeline. The age ups, all of that was pretty even. The fights were pretty even with... Well, no, the fights weren't really that even. In terms of efficiency, Fatslob's fights were better, but Red just had way more numbers. But the timeline doesn't show everything. Obviously, seeing the game, this makes sense. The numbers worked out. I wish there was a different color for Siege. Because there was a point, I think it was right here, where Fatslob lost all of his Siege, and then Red's Siege number went up, and he used it effectively. Anyways, YouTube, I appreciate the crap out of you guys. I've already been working on a thank you video that's going to come when this channel hits 250,000 subscribers. And no, that is not the 21-hour-long game that I will be casting when we hit that, because I made that promise. It's something else. It's just so cool how we're 20 years after, or even over that now, after Age of Empires 2 has come out, and we have so much variety available to us because of people like Dad Iron and Fatslob. I'm overwhelmed because you guys are so nice to me. I don't feel very worthy. But I think me not feeling worthy of the amount of viewership that I may get on YouTube and Twitch and the amount of support keeps me going in a healthy way, you know? Yeah, if I was one of those guys who's like, yeah, I deserve 250K, then maybe I'd be a jerk and maybe I'd lose my way. But no, I really appreciate you guys, whether it's the comments or the tweets or the emails. You guys are awesome. Best community in gaming, best community out there, and there's no bias from my end whatsoever. If you'd like to see another Fatslob game, that's going to be recommended around here-ish or here-ish. And that's it. You guys have a wonderful day or night. I will see you tomorrow with another upload. Fatslob will be back. Trust me.